right? Oh my god, that's hot. And oh, that's so cool. I'm such a Kuro bot.
Okay, you know time. Best girl. She a brat. Oh my god, she's a brat. No way. Correct her.
Dude, she's so pretty. Holy fuck.
The upcoming version 2.6 for Wuthering Waves, titled By Sun's Scourge, by Moon's Revelation, is shaping up to be an update that feels like more than just a routine content drop. It is a moment that has the potential to change the entire conversation around the game, cementing its place in the market or exposing its deepest flaws. On the surface, the community reception has been overwhelmingly positive. The hype for the two new characters is massive. The promise of a rapid story conclusion is a huge draw, and the sheer volume of content has players excited. But when you look closer, the real story goes beyond the patch notes to what this update represents. This update is being seen as a powerful statement from the developer, Kuro Games, a culmination of their entire philosophy on how to manage a game and its community. Yet beneath all of this optimism, there is one significant long-standing concern that quietly threatens to undermine it all. So today we're going to break down the key parts of version 2.6, but to truly understand why this update is landing so well, we need to look beyond the patch notes. The reason for all of this excitement stems from a consistent pattern of behavior from Kuro Games, rather than any single piece of content. The most important feature of this patch isn't a resonator, it is the proof that the developers are actually listening. We can start small. With the Claim All button, this isn't a groundbreaking feature. It is a simple quality of life update that removes a minor repetitive annoyance from the daily gameplay loop. It is the kind of thing that doesn't generate hype, but its absence creates friction, a tiny bit of frustration that adds up over time. Adding it now is a quiet acknowledgement from Kuro that they understand the player's day-to-day experience. It is a sign that they're not just looking at the spreadsheets, they are actually playing their own game. But if the Claim All button is a quiet nod, the overhaul to the flight system is a public declaration. This was one of the most persistent points of feedback ever since 2.0. The fix was a fundamental redesign of a core system, making flight permanently available in the older regions, and more importantly, allowing you to activate it from flat ground without needing to jump off a ledge first. That changes everything about how you traverse the world. It shows a willingness to fix foundational issues, not simply pile new content on top of a flawed base. These actions elevate the update from being a good patch to a strategic cultivation of goodwill. In the live service world, player trust is the most valuable currency there is. It is a market where players are conditioned to feel like their feedback goes into a void. So when a developer acts on that feedback so decisively, it builds an immense reservoir of loyalty. It is this foundation of trust that creates the lens through which the entire community is now viewing version 2.6. The hype for everything else is amplified because it is built on the belief that the people making the game are on the player's side. So with that foundation of goodwill firmly in place, let's look at what is actually being built on top of it. This is version 2.6, which is set to release on August 28th. It is being presented as the grand conclusion to the entire Renacita story arc. At the heart of it all, the two new characters feel like the central pillars of the entire update. First, you have Augusta, who represents the blazing sun. The community has latched onto her war goddess aesthetic immediately. You can see the design philosophy here: the fiery red hair, the hard metallic armor that is softened by sheer fabric, and a very distinct Roman mythological influence running through it all. Her official title is the F4 of Septimont, and she looks like the part. Authoritative and powerful. And she is released on August. You know what I'm saying? Augusta? No? And to complement her, you have Yunwa, the crescent moon. Her design is all elegance and mystique. A blue and white color palette with these intricate metallic accents. Overflowing cloth. This sun and moon duality proves to be the core theme of the entire patch. The update's title directly mirrors the two of them. This tells us that they are the narrative anchors for this story. Pulling for them isn't just a gameplay decision, it is how you engage with the main plot. Now let's look at how they play, because their kits are just as deliberate as their designs. Augusta is a 5-star electro character using a broad blade. I know, she should be fusion because her hair is red. I get it. But she's electro, okay? Let her go. She is a main DPS. Her whole kit seems to revolve around high frequency damage, hitting fast and often, building up what are being called lightning stacks, before unleashing a powerful powerful transformation during her ultimate. And then you have Yeonwoo, a 5-star arrow character using gauntlets. Isn't she supposed to be what? She is a healer and a support, but more specifically, she is rumored to be Augusta's support. Her abilities are designed to directly buff Augusta's combat style. This also ties into the phenomenon players have been noticing for a while: animation creep. Basically, it means the animations for new characters just keep getting better and more elaborate. Augusta's gacha pull animation is the latest example. Instead of causing anxiety, the community celebrates this. It is seen as a sign of Kuro's commitment to constantly raising their own production quality, making the act of actually getting a new character a spectacle in itself. So we have these two characters who are clearly the narrative focus, but the way Kuro is choosing to tell their story is just as interesting as the story itself. They're splitting the main quest into 2 parts. Now, this isn't the first time they've done this. We saw the same structure back in version 2.4, and the immediate reaction from some is to call it an artificial time gate, a way to stretch content out. And while that is technically true, what the community has found is that this pacing has a significant upside. Instead of everyone finishing the entire story in 2 days and then having nothing to talk about for the next 5 weeks, this staggered release keeps the patch feeling alive. It creates a mid-patch event, a second wave of hype that keeps the discussion going. It turns the entire update cycle into a continuous narrative, fostering weeks of prediction and theories, and that prevents the patch from feeling front-loaded and then immediately forgotten. And that sustained discussion is especially important right now because the stakes of the story feel higher than ever. The community is still processing the conclusion to Phrolova's arc in version 2.5. That was the moment players realized that this story has teeth, that Kuro isn't afraid of permanent tragic consequences for its major characters. Nobody feels safe anymore, and that President is coloring all the speculation for this update. I don't want to cry anymore, man. Don't do this to me, man.
You can't keep getting away with it!
This directly fuels the dominant theory about Ayuno's fate. Her role in the lore is that of an oracle. Simply put, she can see the future. Foresight or something. The theory goes that she has foreseen a disastrous outcome for the upcoming Great Hunt in 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆𝗵𝗁, a fate that very likely involves Augusta. So her story becomes about trying to avert a destiny she already knows is coming. And that struggle is what is expected to put her in mortal danger. It creates a genuine sense of tension before the patch even drops. But having a high-stakes story is only effective if people can actually follow it. And that brings us to a long-standing, very fair criticism of Wuthering Waves. The lore has a reputation for being, let's say, a bit of a dense reading assignment. It is deep, but it is also convoluted, and that can be a huge barrier for new or casual players that is trying to get into the lore. But it seems Kuro has been paying attention to this as well. In this update, they are adding a dedicated weapons tab to the in-game gallery. This might sound like a small change, but it is a critical fix. It creates a centralized library, a single accessible place where players can go to read the world building attached to their gear. You no longer have to go digging for it. And to show this isn't just a one-off fix, the developers have already confirmed that a similar echo category is planned for the future. This signals a real foundational commitment to making the game's deep backstory easier for everyone to digest. They are not just writing a good story, they are finally building a better bookshelf for it. So with improvements to how the story is told and how the history is accessed, let's look beyond the main narrative to the world itself, which is expanding with new threats and new ways to play. On the combat front, we are getting a few new bosses, but the one that has really captured the community's attention is a creature called the False Sovereign, and you can see why. Its design is just unsettling and kinky. It is this mass of tentacles and alien geometry, and it immediately stands out from the other enemies in the game. Okay guys, I'm gonna need you to hear me out, you know what I'm saying? This visual distinctiveness is already fueling a ton of lore speculation, with most of the theories connecting it to the Thronodians, the game's overarching cosmic threat. It is effective enemy design, acting as a piece of world building that makes the universe feel a little bigger and a little more dangerous. But not all the new content is about direct hands-on combat. The headline event for this patch is a tower defense mode, officially called the Tide Defense Simulator. Now, tower defense minigames are pretty common in this genre, but the initial impression suggests this one might have a bit more substance than usual. Previews have shown off more complex map layouts and a greater variety of trap placements. We are not just talking about floor traps, we are talking about wall, ceiling, floor traps that can be combined. This means you can create much more intricate kill boxes dodges, layered gauntlets designed to take out enemies before they ever reach you. For players who enjoy strategy, this is a very welcome addition. However, this is also where we see a divergence in what players want from the game. There is a significant portion of the player base that sees a passive strategic focused minigame like this and just finds it boring. And the reason is simple. They have spent hundreds of hours building these characters with deep complex combat kits, and they want to use their skills, their combos, their perfect dodges. A game mode where you mostly watch traps do the work doesn't let them engage with that system they have invested so heavily in. This highlights a key challenge for Kuro Games moving forward, balancing the desire for diverse casual friendly content with the expectations of a core audience that signed up for challenging action-oriented combat. It is a classic developer problem with no easy answer. And this question of balancing the game for different kinds of players brings us to the single most critical test that Kuro is facing, not just in this update, but for the long-term health of the game. I am talking about Endgame. With version 2.6, they are expanding the Tower of Adversity, and with new floors comes the community's greatest anxiety: power creep. Simply put, power creep is the fear that new characters and weapons will be so much more powerful that they make all your old, carefully built characters feel useless. This usually goes hand in hand with HP inflation, which is when the developers just drastically increase the health of new enemies. It is a lazy way to create difficulty, and it pressures you to pull for the newest unit just to keep up. For veteran players of the genre, this is a familiar and dreaded cycle, and that is why this is the ultimate test for all that goodwill we talked about earlier. How Kuro tunes these new floors will be a major signal of their long-term philosophy. Will they respect the time and investment players have already put in, or will they start down that familiar predatory path of making you pay to solve a problem they created? But while the community is cautiously watching the present, they are also getting some very exciting hints about the future. The biggest piece of speculation to come out of the 2.6 trailer has to be the potential for a dedicated mount system. This is all thanks to a key scene that shows the rover riding on the back of Augusta's griffin. Now that could be just a cool animation for the story cutscene, and that would be the end of it. Except, the theory is a lot more plausible when you look at what is already in the game. We already have the Bellborn Geoshaloni, the giant turtle echo that you can literally climb on and ride around. Not really ride around since you can steer it, but like, you know, you can go on top of it. But other than that, we have the Inferno Rider, an enemy that transforms into a functional motorcycle that the players can actually drive. And there is some other echoes too, but the point is, the technical framework for player control mounts isn't just a dream. The foundation for it already exists in the game. They have already built in smaller forms, so seeing that griffin in the trailer feels less like a random cool moment and more like a deliberate tease of the next logical evolution for the game's open world exploration. And that really is the fascinating state of Wuthering Waves right now. One eye fixed on the endgame, worried about a very familiar problem, and the other looking into the horizon, excited for a brand new possibility. So when you put it all together, what does this update really represent? Version 2.6 feels like more than just a standard content patch. It is a definitive statement of intent from Kuro Games. It is a declaration of their entire development philosophy, put on full display. It is a commitment to a rapid, high-stakes narrative that respects the player's time, and it is all built on a foundation of genuine, demonstrable responsiveness to community feedback. And yet, that brings us back to the central tension of this moment. The overwhelming optimism for this patch is running parallel to a legitimate and deep-seated anxiety about the endgame. The goodwill Kuro has earned by listening so intently is about to be tested by the Tower of Adversity. The future potential of the game has rarely felt brighter, but the present challenge is also very real and very familiar. How they navigate this will likely define the game's long-term health and its relationship with its players. And that leaves us with the big question, one that every live service game has to face eventually. I would be interested to hear what you all think. You know, the balance between rewarding longtime players and introducing powerful new characters is a challenge every live service gacha game faces. Well, how do you think developers can navigate endgame progression fairly? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, but that is all from me, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆𝗵𝘁, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!